Konnichiwa. Would you like to learn some useful vocabulary for renting an apartment in English? Renting an apartment can be a really difficult task, especially if English is not your first language. But today, I'm going to teach you some useful vocabulary that will help you to rent an apartment in an English-speaking country. Welcome to Jen's Jyugyou. My name is Jen, and today I want to teach you 14 useful expressions that you need to know if you want to rent an apartment in English. The first expression you need to know is the word tenant. A tenant is a person who is renting an apartment or renting a room. So if you want to rent someplace, you are a potential tenant. Once you start renting, you are a tenant. The second expression I want to talk to you about is the word rent. Rent is the verb, meaning to pay a certain amount of money each month to live in a particular place. Rent is also a noun referring to the amount of money that you are paying each month. So depending on what kind of apartment you want to rent, or whether you're just renting a room in an apartment or in a house, the amount of rent you'll pay per month is different. If you are just renting a room inside someone's house or condo or apartment, the average rent in Toronto is over $650 a month for renting one room. If you want to rent a whole apartment, there's another word I want to teach you, which is a bachelor apartment. Okay? A bachelor apartment means everything is in one room. So you have your kitchen, the area where you make your food, eat your food, and the area where you sleep is all together in one room. The only thing that's separate is your bathroom. So in English, we call this type of an apartment a bachelor apartment. Sometimes people use the word studio apartment as well. So a studio apartment or a bachelor apartment is very small, but in Toronto is still very expensive. Over $1,000 a month to live in one tiny little room. And the final type of apartment that you will usually find is based on the amount of bedrooms the apartment has. So if you are just renting a one-bedroom apartment, your bedroom is in a separate room, and then usually you also have a kitchen and like a living room, kind of dining room type area, and of course your bathroom is separate again, right? So a one-bedroom apartment in Toronto, if you're looking to rent one, the average price is around $1,300 a month. Those are the different types of apartments that you can find. A bachelor apartment or a studio apartment, and then a one-bedroom or two-bedroom, or you can just rent a room. Expression number 4. Usually when you are renting an apartment, it is unfurnished. If you are renting just a room, however, it could be furnished or unfurnished. Furnished apartment means that all of the furniture is already there for you. You already have your bed and your table and your chairs and your sofa or your desk. Everything, all the furniture is there. If it's unfinished, that means you need to provide your own furniture for that place. Expression number 5. I mentioned that renting a room or renting an apartment in Toronto can be very expensive, which is why many people choose to live with roommates or housemates. So these two words, roommates and housemates, have very similar meanings. But specifically, we usually use the word roommate if it's a two-bedroom place and you're sharing the common areas with just one other person. We usually call that one other person a roommate. But if you're living in a big house or a place where there are many rooms being rented at the same time within an apartment unit, then the other people who you are living with, you will call your housemate. Okay? So your housemate or your roommate is a person who is renting another room inside the same building or the same apartment unit that you are also living in. So once you've decided your price range, your budget, how much money you're going to spend on rent, and you've decided if you're looking for a one-bedroom or a bachelor, or you just want to rent a room in someone else's place, and you've decided if it's furnished or unfurnished, and you've made all of these decisions, the next thing you need to do is start looking for a place to rent. There are many websites that you can use to find rental properties. Or the way that I found my current apartment is by looking in the classified section in a newspaper. So the classifieds are, in the very back section of the newspaper, listings of things that people have for sale or for rent, items or services that people want to promote. Okay? So you can find apartment listings in the classified section at the back of a newspaper, or you can look online to try and find your perfect property. Expression number 7. Once you've found a place that you are interested in, you need to contact either the landowner or the superintendent of that property. So you could just hear me use two expressions. A landowner is a person who owns the property, who owns the whole apartment building and all of the apartments in it, or someone who owns maybe the house that you're going to rent an apartment in. Traditionally, we had the expression landlord for men and landlady for women. You can use these expressions, of course, but these days the word landowner is more popular because it's gender neutral. It's not having a balance towards male or female, okay? So a landowner owns the property and they will take care of things for you. If you are living in a really big apartment or an apartment that's owned by a big company, there might be somebody called a superintendent. This word is often just shortened to super. A super or a superintendent is somebody who is being paid by the landowner to take care of the property. So once you move in, if you have any problems in your apartment, you will call the superintendent. Hey, my sink is leaking. The superintendent usually lives on the property and helps take care of all the maintenance type things. The landowner may or may not live on the property depending on the size. Expression number 8, you arrange a viewing. Okay? Before you move into a place, it's a very, very good idea to check out the place. So you're going to arrange a viewing, schedule an appointment to go and take a look at your hopefully future new apartment or room. Expression number 9. When you're considering renting the place, you might also want to find out about whether or not utilities are included. Utilities are things that are essential for when you live in an apartment or in a room. They include things such as heat in the wintertime, electricity, water. Okay? These things are very important and they are called utilities. For some apartments and some rooms, utilities are included in your rent. For some places, utilities are extra. So you need to think about that when you're thinking about the cost of your rent. If utilities are not included, you need to budget and set aside extra money for those utilities. Expression number 10, another important thing that you will want to learn about before you move into an apartment is the amenities. Amenities is a word that means features of the apartment. So for example, do they have a laundry room or is there a washing machine for you to clean your clothes in your apartment? Okay. Is there a parking spot? Is there extra storage for your stuff? Is there a swimming pool or a gym in the building? Okay. These extra features are called amenities. So the amenities and utilities are both extra important things that you should learn about before choosing a place to live. Expression number 11. Once you've decided where you want to live, when you are getting ready to sign all of the papers and pay the rent for the first time, you will be asked to pay something called first and last. Okay? First and last refers to first and last month's rent. So it's very, very common in North America that when you rent an apartment or you rent a room, you have to pay 2 months' rent at the same time. And what usually happens with this money is that they take your first month's rent and they use it towards the first month you're living there, and they save your last month's rent so that when you move out, you contact the landowner or the superintendent and you say, I'm moving out, this will be my last month, and you don't have to pay rent the last month you lived there because you already paid first and lasts when you first moved in. Expression number 12, a deposit. Sometimes people call this a security deposit. And specifically, this is a set amount of money that should be written in a contract between you and your landlord. And you're paying the security deposit when you first move in so that if there's any damages when you move out, not normal wear and tear, but if you have damaged something, maybe you put a hole in the wall or something like that, right? Then the landowner will use that deposit money to make repairs. So when you move out, usually you will get this deposit returned to you unless there has been some damages, then the landowner will have to use that money to make repairs. So make sure all of this information about first and lasts and your deposit is written into your lease agreement. Okay? Your lease agreement is basically a legal contract. That is a written agreement between you and the landowner, talking about how much rent you need to pay each month, talking about the rules of the buildings, the terms and conditions of you living in that room or living in that apartment, right? So what are your rights and responsibilities? What do you have to make sure you do as a tenant? And also, what does the landowner have to do as a landowner is also written into the lease agreement. Make sure you read it very carefully. Your lease agreement is a very important contract between you and the landowner. The terms and conditions that are written there are law. So before you sign the lease agreement, make sure you understand exactly what is written in it. Number 14, you could hear me use a couple times already during this lesson. It is a phrasal verb, which is to move in. Okay? So move in, the phrasal verb means to enter into a building with your stuff with the intention of living there. You are officially going to start living in that space. You are moving in. Move in, and the opposite of that when you leave, move out. So today, you learned 14 different expressions that are very useful and very important for when you rent an apartment or rent a room in English. I hope that this lesson will be very useful for you as you begin your apartment search, start your room hunting adventures. If you have any questions about this vocabulary, please let me know in the comments below. And now it's time for question of the day. Today's question is, please let me know about an experience you have had renting an apartment or renting a room in an English-speaking country. If you haven't had such an experience, then please let me know which English-speaking country you would like to live in. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you found it useful, please subscribe to Jen's Jyugyou and give this video a thumbs up. Mina, thank you. Ganbatte ne!